Welcome back to No Limit Drag Racing 2.0, and today I've got another setup on 1.8.7 for a car I haven't tried yet, and well, it's actually a truck, the Ford F-150, I think it's the 9th gen. So now I've got this into the 5.5s, which is actually possible on this recent update, seeing as you can slam the cars all the way to the ground. So same as before, I'm just going to run you through all the different upgrades, point out a few key ones, you've got to have the same, so make sure you copy it exactly. Then I'm going to go through the tune setup, go through a few details you can adjust as well if it's not quite working on your device, because unfortunately this game does react slightly differently depending on which phone you're using, so I will go through a few things you can change as well. So let's get right into the upgrades. So starting off with the upgrades, same kind of thing you can expect from most max setups in this game. So we're going to put all the upgrades in the engine section, so just max everything out there to the best possible. Then for intake, max that out, exhaust, fully upgraded. I've kept the normal exit, you can put any of the exhausts on, that won't affect the performance. Then for the power adder, this is a key area, make sure you use the same one. So I'm using the Pro Charger for this setup. All of the power adders can run at the same time in this game, but they do tend to react slightly differently. So if you try and swap them from one setup to another, it doesn't usually work some of the time. So make sure you use the same one and max out the Pro Charger for this setup. On to transmission, fully upgrade, and make sure you're using the 6-speed transmission because we do need all of those gears to stay in the power band for the full run. Clutch, maxed upgrades, and same for the flywheel, fully upgrade that. On to suspension, front brakes, fully upgraded, same with the rear brakes. I don't think you need to necessarily upgrade those, but I always just do anyway, so if you're a bit short on money in this game, you can miss out those upgrades and see if it works. I haven't actually tried it, but it probably will. So front suspension, max that out as well, same with the rear suspension. Then for axle config, fully upgrade, this is one of the important ones. So top left, you can see you have the 5 different types. Always make sure you're using the same one as me. So I've gone with the torque arm for this setup. They all do slightly react differently. You'll notice if you click on different ones that they move where the tyres are and slightly adjust how high the rear of the car is, for example, as well. So always make sure you're using the same one. So I've gone with torque arm for this setup. Frame, no roll cage. I mentioned this on my Ford Thunderbird setup I just did, and in case you haven't watched that, it seems like the cars just are a bit quicker without the roll cage. I'm not sure why, but I haven't put them into any of the cars that I've been using so far, so just go for no roll cage. Wheelie bar, this one doesn't really matter either. I've put it on anyway because I think it still adds stability weirdly if it doesn't touch the ground. But you can see here, the way I've positioned it, it never hits the ground. It's just hidden in the bodywork of the car. I've just added it because I think it does increase the stability weirdly, even if it's not actually being used. Weight reduction, fully upgrades, same with weight transfer. And then the parachute I've not included. I don't really think it matters, and it's just an extra thing you don't really need to do, so I haven't included the parachutes. On to computer. I fully upgraded nitrous tuning. You don't actually need to, so you can remove those upgrades or just don't do them if you're a bit short on money, but I just tend to upgrade everything because it's not really a problem for me. And then we want to upgrade all the controllers, so launch to max, fuel for max, timing for max, and boost max. And finally onto tyres. This is the most important section, so make sure you have exactly the same tyre size, because if you adjust the tyre height, for example, it also affects the gear ratio and the top speed. Because a higher tyre has to spin less to go the same distance as a shorter tyre, if that makes sense. So we want to go 35 on the height, 21 on the width, and then 13 on the rim diameter for the rear one, so make sure that's exactly the same. Then for the front, 25 height, 2 width, and diameter of 16, so make sure you double check you've got the tyres exactly the same. And that's all from the upgrades, so now we'll get into the tuning setup. Moving on to the tune setup, this is the most important section, so make sure everything is exactly the same. Even if one thing is one click in the wrong direction, the setup might not work properly, so make sure you pay full attention to each part. Getting into it, you want to start with the computer section always, and the reason for this is you need to set the limiter RPM to 10,000. If you don't do that first, you're not going to be able to adjust the gear ratios because it will be limited to a certain RPM, so the setup won't work at all, so make sure you do this first. And then we've got launch control on for this one, set to 9,000, that's very important, make sure it's the same. And shift light RPM, I've gone for 9,600, this is just preference, you don't need to set it, but it's kind of a middle ground of where you want to shift. If you pay attention to the clip at the end of the video, watch where I shift, that's where you want to change gear. You'll see you short shift first to second, and then you gradually shift later and later as you go through the gears. Then onto the delay box, I've got it set to 0 here at the moment. That's if you want to react to the green light, and you can use it for any of the trees. Usually I have that set to 0.5, and that's going to allow you to react to the amber light for the Pro tree and then the car will launch on its own when green comes up, and that way you can get more consistent reaction times. I do actually have a tutorial, I'll link that in the top corner of the video if you want to learn how to set up the delay box yourself. It's definitely something you want to set if you want to get more consistent reaction times. Then on to the fuel rate and timing, you'll see top right it says perfect tune installed. This is a really key area, you can't copy my numbers for this part, so for both of these you're going to need to find your own perfect tune. Now the way you do this is you can pay 300 gold for each, or the best way, which I usually always do, is when you buy the car, buy the strip car version. It costs $150,000, but it comes with some of the upgrades installed, but most importantly it comes with these perfect tunes already on the car, so you don't need to spend any gold, so that's definitely the way you want to do it. Onto boost, max this out, 30 psi on everything, we just want max boost across, all of the rev range. Getting into transmission, so I've gone for 3.4 on the first, 246, 192, 155, 128, 103, and final drive of 376. One thing a lot of people tend to ask is about the graph scale. That has nothing to do with the setup, it is just the speed the graph goes up to so you can see all the gears properly. Now, this is one of the areas you can adjust if it's not quite launching right on your particular device. So if you find the car's spinning the wheels a bit too much and, just burning the tyres at the start, you can decrease that first gear number to maybe 336, just go down a couple clicks and keep trialing and see if it works for you. That's just going to increase the length of the gear and make the car launch properly. And if the opposite's happening, if you find the car is bogging down, just losing all the RPM, the wheels aren't spinning at all, you want to go the other way, so you can bump up that first, maybe 342, try it out, 344. As I said, it's slightly dependent on your device, the game reacts a bit differently if you're on like an Android or an iPhone or the different type of phone you've got. So also if you want to tune transmission yourself and learn how to do it, it's quite simple. I'll link in the top corner of the video my transmission tuning tutorial video as well. On to suspension as well, this is another plug, but I'll also link the suspension tutorial in the top corner so you can learn to do it yourself, because if you learn to do each of these sections, you'll much better understand it, and then you won't need to go and look at my tutorials, so it'll be a lot easier if you just learn it yourself and check those out. But for the suspension clearance, we've gone all the way low at 0.15, 0.15. Stiffness, 70,000 on the front, 23,000 on the rear. Bump, 2100 front, 1000 rear. And rebound, 5400 front and 7000 rear. Over to extension, gone 0.24 on the rear and 0.38 on the front. This one's not too important, but usually just put it the same for consistency. It's just for aesthetics mainly, it doesn't usually affect the time too much. Then on to wheelie bar, this doesn't really matter. As I said before at the start of the video, it's not actually going to ever touch the ground in this setup, so I've just put it at 0.08, minus 0.8 I should say, and height of 2, just so it's hidden in the bodywork and you can't see it. Weight, this is a really important one. I've gone 0.48 on the back and forth position, and all the way down 0.05. For the height, this is one of the areas you can adjust if it's not quite working on your device as well. So you find the car spinning the wheels a lot, and just getting no traction at the start, maybe move that to 0.47, and keep going through like that. And if you find the opposite's happening and the car's bogging down, go the other direction, try maybe 0.49, see what happens. So that's that for the weight section. Computer we've already covered, and nitrous of course, we don't have nitrous installed, so you don't need to worry about that one. So make sure you go through and double check everything's the same there, and now I'll walk you through my best run so far. Finally, getting on to my quickest run so far, 5.59 I think it is. Key thing here, make sure you set the tyres to 125 degrees, or Fahrenheit, I'm not sure what it's in. That's going to be the best still for launching. And I am using the Pro stage here, you don't need to, but if you do, just up to the green line. Then with the delay box, I'm launching on the amber lights, and the car will go on green. And the key thing here, just watch where I shift, as you saw there, shifting from first to second at about 9,200. You want to shift fairly early, and that will give you the best traction at the start. And there you can see 5.598 with a really quick 0.767 on the 60 foot time. So that's that for the video. Make sure you drop a like if you've enjoyed and found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.